All right, so welcome to Just Yoga. In the email that I sent, I suggested grabbing 2 blocks or books because y'all know I'm in a stand on the block phase, and so you don't want to stand on rolled towels. That is too much teetering for your balance. I also said to grab a ball. Something that's got a little bit of give would be ideal. Something like a tennis ball. There are a variety of kinds of therapy balls that would be great too. And if you happen to prefer lacrosse balls, that's cool too. I used to be really committed to using the lacrosse ball for foot rolling, but recently I've kind of learned some new things about that and I've shifted more toward a slightly softer kind of ball. So for today's class, we're actually going to start standing. So find a comfortable mountain pose. It may be a little bit wider, a little bit more narrow than the mountain you'll move through the rest of practice with. Just coming to find your stance on the mat. Feeling your joints stack, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. You got a little bit of tone to the core, helping you close the rib cage so that the shoulders can stack over hips. And check in with your head. We tend to all bring our chin forward, so you might almost feel like you're trying to make a double chin, pressing as if there's someone's hand behind the back of your head, giving you a little bit of tension, which will invite length through the whole spine. As you pause in mountain, maybe close your eyes. If you do so, you'll probably notice that your body just naturally shifts to adjust and compensate to restabilize your balance. As you pause, perhaps you choose to set an intention to guide your practice. Maybe you set an intention encouraging stability, working toward stability in your postures, finding that from the ground up as you draw your attention to your feet. If your eyes are still closed, start to notice where and how your feet are in space, right? You're pressing down, you're like, I'm standing on them only. Of course, that's where they are. But do you actually know where they are, right? Are they side by side? Do you think they're side by side? Just kind of playing with a little bit of that proprioception. Maybe you start to just wiggle the toes a little. You could play piano with your toes. My toes don't hit each key. There's a couple toes that move at once. Maybe you scrunch your toes up and then release, like you're trying to, if you had a towel under your toes, you're trying to bunch it all the way up. And wherever you are in your breath cycle, go ahead and exhale everything out. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hinges into a forward fold. While you're down here, look at your feet. Notice how your toes press into the mat. Notice if they're easy to pop up in your forward fold. You want to press down through that big toe joint and the pinky toe joint. Remember, you can have a nice deep bend to your knees. As you pause, Look at your feet. I got a lot of veins on the top of my feet today. I can really see them. On your next inhale, hands into the shins, lifting halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Bending the knees deeply as you tuck the tail, stacking your way all the way up to mountain. Exhale, hands pause at the heart. And then you can kind of release, grab that ball, pick a foot, any foot we've got to. I'm going to start with, I'm your mirror today, so I'm going to start with my left foot. And we're going to start with the ball close to our heel. And just press into the ball for a breath, and then release. The intensity level of this is totally up to you. However hard you press is how intense that pressure becomes. I got a rather large ball today, so my whole foot is above the floor. But as you squish, you might touch toes to the mat. And then maybe just sway across that ball, right about where the heel and the arch kind of meet. Often if you've got a lot of plantar fasciitis or you've had some heel pain in general, this might be pretty intense for you. It's hard to control at that point of your foot as well. The ball might fly across the room. And that's okay, just look at it. It's fine. Then you can go ahead and let the ball move closer to the center of the arch now and revisit that press. When we roll our feet, we tend to do a really good job of hitting the center of our foot. Our arches make it easy. The shape of our foot make it easy to hit there. But we sometimes neglect the inner arch and the outer arch. So as you're ready, you can start to going cross fibers of the muscles first today. Blade edge of the foot to the inner arch. You might even pause briefly, pressing into the inner arch. My foot really wanted that. But rolling, at any time we do rolling, it's sort of listening to your own body. My suggestions are just that. Maybe your foot needs a slightly different rolling approach, and that's cool. Then we'll bring the ball to the ball of the foot. You can press down, you could grip your toes and release. Just noticing the sensation that this creates, maybe a little bit of space. Then you can once again find that sort of cross fiber action, big toe to pinky toe pressure. To round out this foot, then you can do some rolling of the length of your arch and up to your toes, to your heel. However that feels good. You might, my fingers are doing crazy things, and it's not at all conscious. All our phalanges are really connected up in the brain. So when my toes doing things, sometimes my fingers try to help them out. Because we're better at controlling our fingers. Give them maybe one or two more swipes. And then just step that foot down. Close your eyes and notice perhaps the difference between one foot pressing into the mat versus the other. My left foot feels like there's more contact on the mat. And we'll swap sides. A pretty quick roll as foot rolling goes. Starting at that heel connection with some presses. And then we'll switch into that cross after you do. Ideally, the same, but all of the musculature in our feet, especially, we're not always kind to our feet, so we tend to have a lot more old injury living there. And so that means we tend to need a slightly different amount of pressure, maybe a slightly different path of the ball. Maybe your feet are completely even, and I'm very happy for you. Mine are definitely not. And after you've swiped toward the heel, the ball moves up to the middle of the arch. And we revisit the press. Press and release. And then you can swipe across. And finally, that ball arrives, ball of the foot. Pressing, maybe wrapping the toes. My toes are super short, so they don't wrap very far around that ball. But, you know, if you've got those like finger toes, you can probably get some pretty good wrapping action. And then swiping. And we finish this foot out with rolls at the length of the foot. Getting some snaps and pops out, which feels pretty nice as well. And then we can move the foot and once again pause and mountain. Feeling maybe a little bit more balance, maybe a little bit more space, which in turn helps you find a little bit more stability. If the ball is still on your mat, go ahead and let it roll. You can go all the way across the room. We're not going to need it again. So if it has a mind of its own, no worries. We'll meet at the top of our mat. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hinges into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifts. Exhale, plants the hands and steps it back to down dog. Gently settling into your down dog here, hands actively pressing down. Walking your dog, wagging your tail. Giving yourself some movement here. As you explore your down dog for today. Finding that motion for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Arriving at the outward stillness of your down dog. Belly button pulling up and in, hips pressing high. Noticing your points of stability. Checking in to see if you're leaning to one side. That could be a very tiny lean. Just often we lean to our slightly stronger or more dominant side. Your next inhale curls you up and out to high plank. Exhale, presses up and back to down dog. Moving and syncing with your breath for 3 more rounds. Firing up through the belly, Forming up through the shoulders. On your last round, we'll all pause in high plank. We'll lower the knees to the mat, untuck the toes. Lean the chest forward on your next inhale. Exhale, lowers. Your modified chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, releases. Tucking the toes and pressing the hips back to meet the heels. In child's pose. Feel free to settle into puppy if that serves your body better. Inhale pulls you into tabletop. Extending your right leg behind. And then crossing it over and pressing into the ball of the foot. Maybe you peek at the toes. Maybe you bounce to the ball of the foot slightly. Opening up the left hip. Inhale, pulls, lifting that foot back. Center. Stabilizing here. As your exhale, karate kicks that leg to the side. Inhale, lines it back up center. For 3, 2, 1. This time, planting the right foot on the mat or floor beside you, walking yourself up to stand on your knee. Inhale reaches your left arm up and over, bending over the leg. Your right fingers can dangle or rest on the calf or thigh. Inhale brings you up. Exhale tips to the left. Maybe you stay here with the blade edge of the right foot down. Maybe that right foot hovers into a modified side plank. Bring yourself back up to stand. 2 hands come down in front of you. Hips shift back into an extended leg, child's pose. And pulling yourself back through that table hand, lift the right foot up and settle it back. Then extending the left foot back. Checking in, I immediately shifted over to my right side. So try to continue pressing through your left hand. As you reach your left foot across, pressing into the ball of the foot to get that hip stretch on the second side. Inhale, unwinds, hovering in the center. Check in with the head. Make sure it's not drooping toward the mat like a bowling ball. And on your next exhale, the left leg kicks forward. And then extend back on your inhale. We've got 3, 2, 1. Foot settles. Come up to stand on that right knee. Ooh. Inhale, reaches, right arm up and over, side. Inhale through neutral. Right hand reaches toward the mat. Pausing, pressing the foot down. Or maybe it lifts. Bring yourself back up, foot plants. Hands come forward. You can stay in table. I should have given that option on the first side. Or shift back into that modified child's pose. For me, that really hits my inner thigh in a big way. Ooh. And pulling it back up through table, leg lifts, center, knee down. Feel free to wiggle and shake it out. Maybe your body's craving a little bit of cat-cow. And then eventually, we all meet back in down dog. Your next inhale, lifts the right toes. Pausing in three-legged dog, maintaining squareness through the hip. Your next exhale, steps the right foot through, heeling yourself up to crescent lunge. Inhale, opens the chest up and back, elbows can go wide. Returning center. Opening into an upright twist towards your front leg. Reaching finger to the back and front edges of your mat. Inhale, swoops you center. Exhale, spins your back heel down, opening the hips to warrior two. Inhale, flips the front palm to exalt, up and back. Exhale, windmills the hands, framing the front foot, stepping it back to down dog. Feeling free to pause or explore your favorite vinyasa flow. If you're choosing for chaturanga, be sure those elbows hug the rib cage as you lower to the mat. Eventually, we all meet in down dog with 3 rounds of breath. Your next inhale lifts your left foot to three-legged dog. Pausing here, noticing how the balance shifts from 4 points to 3. Your next exhale, step the left foot through, heeling it up. Crescent lunge on your second side. Inhale opens up and back. Elbows go wide. Returning center. Then swooping into that upright twist toward your front leg. Inhale brings you neutral. Exhale opens warrior two. Inhale flips the front palm up and back. Exhale frames the front foot, stepping it back and up. Feeling free to pause or find a flow. Eventually we'll all briefly meet in child's pose. Pausing, taking inventory, perhaps grabbing a sip of water. And when you're ready, pull it back through table on your way to down dog. Inhale, lifts the heels, bends the knees as you look forward. Exhale, steps you to the top of your mat. Inhale, lifts halfway. Exhale, hold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands down. Step it out, sway it out. If you didn't grab a sip of water, but now you suddenly realize you need it, go for it. Then as we meet back to the top of our mat, go ahead and grab your blocks. Setting your blocks up so that you can stand in mountain pose, 1 foot per block. As you settle onto the blocks, you want to put your foot in the center of the block. If your toes happen to hang off the front edge, that's okay. You don't want to let just your heel hang off the back of your block because it might tip you backwards. So it'd be better if your foot happens to be longer than the block to have toes hanging off than heels. And then once you settle on, close your eyes. Check back in with mountain pose. Depending on the prop, there might be a goodly amount of give underneath your feet. That's okay. You can probably feel, even if your blocks are pretty solid or your arm books, you can probably still feel all those teeny muscles through your feet working to stabilize your body. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hinge, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, chair pose. Hips sinking down and back. You might choose Frankenstein arms to kind of help with leverage, or arms can continue to reach high or settle at heart center. Tailbone is reaching down, belly button pulling to spine. Just, loving some chair pose. Maybe your hips sink a smidge deeper. Your hands are not already in heart center, bring them there. Weight shifts to your right foot. As you peel the left foot up, just step it back. It's a crescent lunge. It might take a little hop. As you stabilize, really think about your feet. There is a reason we rolled our feet, so that all those muscles were ready to work. As we explore some postures with some maybe wonky elevations. Inhale, arms reach high into your full crescent. Shoulders are stacked. Low back is long. Right hand comes to right hip. Inhale, reaches side bend. Your next inhale, square center. Exhale, swoops to that upright twist. Inhale, swoops you center. Exhale, opens to warrior two. That front foot is your anchor. Everything's moving around that foot. Flipping your front palm as you reach up and back to exalt. Returning to warrior two. Tipping it forward into extended side angle. Maybe you rest elbow to knee, top arm can reach straight up, or bicep by the ear. Inhale, pulls you back up to warrior. Exhale, rotates back to crescent. Hands come to heart center as we stabilize. Then reaching your left hand down to the other block, you might hop your back toes back a smidge for supported lunge twist. And pressing down, hopefully your left hand is in the center of the block. Pressing down into the center of that block. And make your way to side plank. Feeling free to lower the bottom knee. And squaring the top hand to your other block. So now you've got two hands on your blocks instead of 2 feet. Press your hips up and back to down dog. You could even grab your blocks here. Really pressing the hips up and back. They might invite the heels closer to the mat. And inhale reaches your right toe high. This time let your knee bend and your hip open. And squaring that hip back off. Stepping that foot into the middle of your mat. About 2 feet apart. Hands shift to your hips. Making a table with your spine. That variation of pyramid. Then you can release the hands to the mat, or blocks if you'd like. Surrendering into that stretch. And hands return to the hips. Inhale, rise the breath all the way up. Hands can come to heart center. Stepping your left foot to the blocks, and then your right. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hinges, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands forward. Inhale, arms reach. Because you know, 2 sides. Exhale, chair pose. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just dripping sweat over here. So don't even need the heaters in the hot yoga studio. Just yoga in the garage in August. No big deal. If your hands are not already there, bring them to heart center. Weight shifts to your left foot as your right foot peels off the block and steps back to crescent lunge. Stabilizing, shimmying the back foot if you need. And arms reach for your full crescent. Exhale, tips to your side bend as your left hand comes to your left hip. Up and over, front body stretch. Woo. Hip flexors and psoas. For me, anyway. Inhale brings you back center. Exhale rotates into that upright twist. Inhale brings you center. Exhale opens warrior two. Tailbone still reaches to the mat. Inhale floats the palm, exalting your warrior. Returning neutral as your exhale tips you to extended side angle. Finding the variation, ideally, that you did on the first side, but honoring any minor differences you may need. Inhale brings you neutral. Exhale rotates back to crescent lunge. Hands can come to heart as you restabilize. And right hand finds the block. Supported twists. And really rooting through your right hand, you can shimmy your left leg off your block and then step it back to side plank. You can find the floor. And top line squares, high plank. Two hands on blocks. Hips press up and back. Down dog. Inhale, reaches left toe high. Pausing in three-legged dog. Then opening up. Bending the knee as the hip opens. And leg squares back through center and steps into the middle of your mat. Shifting into that half fold, hands to the hips. Feeling two hips squaring. The front hip pulls back as the back hip pulls forward. And you can surrender into the stretch. And hands return to the hips. You ride the breath up. Hands come to heart center. Right foot steps to the block. Left foot joins. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to heart. Go ahead and step off your blocks. You can scooch them out of your way. Grab a sip of water, wipe it down, whatever you need. We'll meet back. Inhale. Once again, close your eyes in mountain pose. Notice how the body feels. Your feet are probably pretty happy to be on stable ground. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hinges, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, steps it back to down dog. Feeling free to flow. Or pause. Eventually, we'll all meet in child's pose. Feeling grounded and supported in your child's pose. With minimal work for the body. Our standing practice demanded a lot of stabilizing. The body worked pretty hard. Let it begin to soften and release. And as you're ready, you can shift yourself up, passing through a seat. We guide ourselves down onto the mat. You can catch on the backs of the thighs. Then let the torso come down. Arms just pause in a gentle T. Feet stay planted on the mat. Gently windshield wiper your knees. Maybe it's slow. Maybe it's a little bit more brisk. The next time the knees drop to the right side, let them pause there. Shimmy the left foot out just a smidge toward the edge of your mat so that you can plant the left foot on the floor. Then press the left hip forward. Open through that quad and hip flexor. Then surrender, let the inner side of the foot rest on the floor again. Maybe that left hip drops toward the mat. The glute might not touch fully, that's okay. And gently rainbowing the knees up through center as the knees drop to the second side. The right foot shimmy slightly to the edge of your mat. So you can plant the foot down and then press into it so the right hip presses forward. Being conscious of your knees here. You don't want to accidentally drop the knee too far in or press it too far out. And releasing, letting the inner foot drop to the mat. And the right glute drops toward the floor. Inhale, knees back through center. Hands reaching toward the heels, making sure those feet are about hip distance apart. Shoulder blades walk underneath you, tail tucks, as you press the hips up into bridge pose. And gently articulating the spine back to the mat, pausing as the tailbone hits. Then bending at the elbows this time, pressing the triceps into the mat as you press the hips up into bridge pose more. Spine articulates back down, arms release, knees windshield wiper. Then setting up, feel free to take another round of bridge pose. If your block is handy, you can even take supported bridge pose. Otherwise, you can catch a little bit of momentum with the legs, support the low back as you extend the legs up toward the ceiling for supported shoulder stand. As you get the hips off the floor, you can get the pike out of your legs to stack your legs over your hips instead of over your nose. As you do so, to be sure there is a little bit of space between the chin and the chest, which allows for easier breath. Kind of feeling the bulk of the pressure across the shoulders, not crunching through the neck, maybe even into the traps a little bit. Hovering and holding in your shoulder stand for about 5 or so rounds of breath. If you've chosen to hang out in bridge, hover and hold there. Perhaps extend one foot to the ceiling for a couple breaths, and then the other, if you're feeling fancy. If you're in supported bridge with your block, feel free to extend both legs up to the ceiling if you'd like a gentle inversion. Whenever you've had enough of shoulder stand, go ahead and let your feet drop into cloud pose over your face. Pausing there as long as it serves you. And gently articulating the spine back to the mat when you're ready. If you're in bridge pose, go ahead and press into the feet if you've got the block so you can scoop the block out from underneath you as you then articulate the spine back to the mat. As we all meet back with our whole back on the floor, you can hug the knees to the chest, perhaps gently sway from side to side. And then give yourself any final posture your body may need. Perhaps you need a gentle spinal twist. I always like a happy baby before I settle into Shavasana. Or maybe you're like, nope, I am ready now. And you're gonna go ahead and settle into Shavasana. Otherwise, you got about a minute or two to close out your practice. You're gonna get a nice long Shavasana today. Our practice was pretty active. I mean, we started standing after all. Just listening as your body tells you what it needs before it can let go, releasing tension, releasing engagement, and ultimately surrendering into the mat. As you settle, no rush. Let your body find its most comfortable resting place. Maybe that's arms and legs splayed wide. Maybe feet stay planted on the mat. Knees could open to recline goddess. You got a wall handy, you could shimmy over for a little bit of legs up the wall. As you settle to Shavasana, begin to notice a different sense of stability. As we move through our practice, focusing on our stability through our feet and other stabilizing muscles, our strength and determination, maybe even perseverance, helped maintain your stability. But now, the stability is provided by the space you take up on your mat. No tension or engagement of the muscle is necessary. Quieting your mind. Perhaps focusing on the breath as you allow the body to revel in this stillness. If your mind wanders, don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes the stillness of Shavasana is harder than other things you did throughout the practice. Just call yourself back, acknowledge that you drifted, and settle back into the rhythm of your breath. you'd prefer to stay in Shavasana, simply tune my voice out. But if you're ready, you can begin to deepen the breath, feeling the front side of the body billow as it expands on your inhale, and sighing it out on your exhale as the back line of the body surrenders just a smidge deeper into the mat. And you can begin to invite movement throughout the body. That movement can be big or small, however the body would prefer to initiate movement. Eventually finding yourself in a full body stretch, fingers away from toes. Then hugging the knees in tightly to the chest, maybe even pull the nose in. And then you allow yourself to roll to your favorite side, pausing as your practice settles into your body. Then gently and on your own time, guiding yourself up to a comfortable seat. Eyes are closed or downcast. Your spine feels long as the crown of the head reaches toward the ceiling. Shoulders stack over hips. Two sit bones pressing down into the mat. Inhale, arms reach high, palms meeting at the top. Exhale, hands pause at your third eye as you seek openness of mind. They rest at your lips so that you find honest words, and they settle at your heart as you arrive at a happy heart. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide for your practice. Namaste.
Thanks, Molly.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening. I'll see you later.
You too. See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.